Hello everybody, how you all doing? My name is Rafael and welcome to today's video. Today we have another meta build. This build has been known for quite some time now, but since we don't have any new content to go over, I decided that it was a good time for me to go over all the meta builds that I haven't showcased on my channel. So people that come here and ask in the comments, hey, what's the best skill build, what's the best red build and things like that, I can just direct you guys to a build instead of having to type 2 paragraphs of text, right? So here, of course, we have the full yellow striker drone attack turret meta build. I have done a couple of changes, so there are a couple of things that you can change in order to suit your playstyle different, and that's of course a talent. We will go over that later in the video. But for now, let's talk about the branched pieces that we're using. Of course, we're going with 3 Empress International for the 10% skill health, 10% skill damage, 10% skill efficiency. 2 Hana U pieces for the 10% skill haste and the 10% skill damage. Of course, if you don't want to go with 2 Hana U pieces, you can go with 1 Hana U piece and they get a Wyvern instead. The Wyvern branched gives you 10% skill damage when you have 1 Wyvern piece equipped. So it's the same thing. And then, of course, we have the waveform. The reason we want to go with the waveform is that the talent is going to give us an extra 30% skill damage. Generate a stack of 3% skill damage on one of your skills every second, capping at 10 stacks. After 10 seconds at the cap, the stacks transfer to your other skill. The process then repeats ad infinitum. So pretty much it keeps on happening forever and forever. Now, what's important to remember about the waveform is that it transfers the 30% skill damage from one skill to another. So you will never have that extra 30% skill damage on both of your skills. Sometimes it will be 15 and 15, sometimes it will be 10 and 20, sometimes it will be 30 and 0, depending at which phase of the transition of the stacks the talent is at. Now, that's important to remember because if you decide to take out, let's say, the striker drone, right, and get yourself the Artificer Hive, which we're going to talk about later in the video, then for 10 seconds, while the stacks of the waveform are on your second skill, and that second skill is the Artificer, then you will have no benefit on your skill damage whatsoever. The primary weapon, of course, is the Capacitor. The reason for that is because I want to get that extra 60% skill damage from its talent, but also because the Capacitor gains 7.5% weapon damage for its skill tier. In this build, we have 6 skill tiers, so that's a nice 30% weapon damage that we gain. My secondary is the Harmony. The reason for that is that if my Capacitor runs out of ammo, I can change to my armory and get perfectly in sync. Hitting an enemy grants 20% skill damage for 5 seconds. Using a non-sealed skill or damaging an enemy with a skill grants plus 20% weapon damage for 5 seconds. Damage increases are doubled while both buffs are active at the same time. So you can get 40% weapon damage and 40% skill damage. My skills, as I told you earlier, are the striker drone and the assault turret. And then if we take a look at the talents on the backpack, I have the force multiplier, the named Hana U piece for the perfect combined arms. Shooting an enemy increases total skill damage by 30% for 3 seconds. The normal combined arms talent comes with 25% skill damage for 3 seconds. So that's also a great option if you don't have the force multiplier backpack. Now, another great option for the backpack talent is tech support. Skill kills increase total skill damage by 25% for 20 seconds. Tech support works great if you play all by yourself, if you're playing solo, so you can manage all your kills to be taken from by your skills. However, if you're in a group with 3 other people, tech support will not always proc simply because your teammates will take in your kills. So if you're going in a group, I recommend combined arms. If you're going all by yourself, tech support will be fine. When it comes to the chest piece, I've decided to go with Overwatch. Overwatch will give us 12% skill damage and 12% weapon damage after we stay behind cover for 10 seconds. And we're going to maintain that buff, that talent, for as long as we stay behind cover. We can do cover to cover moves, so we can move. We're not forced to stay behind the same cover all the time. We can go from cover to cover, but we cannot just get out of cover, start running, and then go back to cover again. We have to make the cover to cover move. The reason I decided to go with Overwatch is obviously the fact that it gives me both damage for my skills, but also for my weapon. Other great options here are, of course, things like Kinetic Momentum, which will give us 15% skill damage and 30% skill repairs, but we don't care about the skill repairs. unbreakable in case you want to have more survivability. And one of my favorites, of course, is the glass cannon, which will give us 25% amplified skill damage. However, we will also take 15% amplified damage on us, so it's going to be much harder to survive. When it comes to the attributes that I have here, as you can see, skill damage, skill haste, skill haste, skill haste, skill damage, skill haste, skill damage, skill haste, skill haste, skill haste, skill damage, damage haste, and the waveform comes with skill damage and skill haste. For the specialization, I've decided to go with the Technician for the 10% skill damage that we get. And we also get one extra skill tier, so you can recalibrate one of your core attributes from skill tier to weapon damage or armor. Sadly, on my items, I cannot recalibrate the core attribute because I have already recalibrated the rest of the attributes, but you can do that to your build. The cooldown on my skills are super low, 9.9 seconds for the turret and 10.5 seconds for the striker, which is very nice. Now, this is the build that a lot of people, with a couple of minor changes, as I told you about the talents and things like that, but this is the build that a lot of people consider to be the skill meta build. However, in my honest opinion, if you're a solo player, this is not the best build for you. The best build for you, I think it's a build that I've actually covered in the previous video. If that's the case, I will have a card pop up right now your screens so you can go and take a look at that over there. But in case I haven't actually covered it in another video, let me share with you a couple of changes that I would do to this build and explain to you why I consider those changes to be better for solo players. So, starting off, the biggest issue you have with this build over here, the only issue that you have with this build is that if your skills go down, you're pretty much fucked, right? And your skills can go down for two main reasons. The first one is they just run out of duration, so to say. And the second one is the enemies just shot the living crap out of them and their health went down. Now, how do you counter that? The only way to counter that is to get your second skill to be the Artificer. The Artificer will make sure to recharge the duration of your skill, of your turret, so it will never go down because it went past the 250 seconds, right? But it also heals your skills, if that makes any sense, because if you go and watch gameplay from solo legendaries, for example, with Artificer and turret, you will notice that there are 3 Changas shooting at that poor turret, and that poor turret stays alive because it has the Artificer, which recharges both its duration but also its health. It keeps on healing it again. The Changas cannot take it down, so the Changas focus their fire on it, and you're staying behind them, going after the backpacks and then simply just killing them. The Artificer not only increases the health and the duration of your skills, pretty much making it unkillable, but it also increases its damage. So if I go right now, let me actually take the waveform out so it doesn't affect our damage. Let's get, do I have a Wyvern holster here? Status effect, okay, we don't care. It's not the ideal holster, but we will make it work. So as you can see, it does 128 with the Artificer, right? Excuse me, 168 with the Artificer. And 128 without the Artificer. So that's a 40k damage boost. You see now the Artificer went out, so he gets another one. The damage is up there again. If I proc the Overwatch, damage will go 189. That's another 21k. And if I get full stacks in the capacitor, and combined arms, of course, 279 with full capacitor stacks, 286, 288, 293. We go over 300k with combined arms, full capacitor stacks, and the Artificer. I think, yeah, 306 is the highest that we can go. So the damage of the turret is super high, right? It will never go down because the enemy shoot at it. It will never go down because of the duration unless you actually consume 32 charges of the Artificer, which is actually insanely hard to do. The encounter has to last like 10 minutes or something. So by doing these two little changes, right? By changing my waveform and for a Wyvern piece And by changing the drone for the artificer, we have a skill which will never go down, will never run out of duration, does more than 300k per shot, and we can count on it pretty much always to cover our back. So for solo players, I think that's much better, because if you're playing all by yourself and you're going with the previous build that I showed you with waveform and attack drone, and something happens to your skills, they go down or whatever, right? For the next 10 seconds, you're all by yourself. And if you're doing a control point, that's completely fine, in my opinion. You can survive 10 seconds when you're doing a control point or a bounty or a mission. However, if you're in a solo legendary, then I think you have to go with the artificer. That's the better bet. Now, the reason I changed the waveform, because a lot of people are going to be confused. Wyvern will offer us at all times 20% skill damage. Waveform at all times will offer us 10% skill damage, and it will give us another 30% skill damage from time to time when the talent rotates. Because if the waveform talent is on the artificer hive, our turret gets no damage. So that's a judgment call, in my opinion. Sometimes you're gonna be getting 20% extra skill damage with the waveform than you would get with the wyvern, but at other times you will have 10% more damage with the wyvern than you would have with the waveform. So it comes down to what you prefer the most. Let me actually show you the actual numbers, how the waveform will look like, so you know what you're missing or what you're getting. So the waveform now starts to transfer to the turret, And we're getting 320. Let's see how the damage will look when we don't have the waveform though. So without the waveform, we hit for 295. There isn't a huge damage difference. Even if you go with the waveform or the wyvern, the wyvern was hitting at max for 302k. The waveform hits for 320. When you have all the stacks, when you don't have the stacks, for 295, 297. So no matter what you choose, in all honesty, it will work great. Now, the last thing I want to show you, because I know that people are going to ask, is the glass cannon. So I changed my chest piece from Empress International to a wyvern chest piece with glass cannon. Over here, let me get the skill haste back. And then I got the Empress International third piece to be on my holster. No waveform this time around. Glass cannon on the chest piece, 3 Empress International, 1 wyvern piece, and 2 Hana U pieces. 352, as you can see. With all the talents proc, with glass cannon, perfect combined arms, full capacitor stacks, and the artificer. So there you have it. In my opinion, if you're running with a group, this over here is the best build. Attack drone, attack turret, waveform, perfect combined arms, Overwatch on the chest piece, 3 Empress International, 2 Hana U, capacitor, and of course, where is it? Harmony. There you go. Now, if you want to run solo, what you can do is get rid of the waveform, get yourself a wyvern piece, right? And get rid of the attack drone and get yourself the artificer. That will guarantee that you will never have to worry about your turret, your skills in general, running out of duration, running out of health, or whatever. It's going to be there. It's going to be doing much more damage than it would normally do without the artificer. It will have health forever, and its duration will last pretty much forever, unless you run out of the 32 charges the artificer comes with. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope that you find the video helpful. Leave a comment down below sharing your thoughts with me. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.